Salam and welcome back to Quarantine Calligraphy. Today is the last of our 4 sessions, so we'll work on some flourishing and end with a really nice Ramadan project. Let's get started. So, what we're going to work towards today and to end our 4 weeks together is make a Ramadan Kareem card. So it's really difficult for some of us because we can't see our friends or our families, and with Ramadan coming up, that's one of the times where we spend the most time with other people. So what I thought would be nice for us to do is we will use our newly learnt calligraphy skills, and we'll learn a bit of flourishing today as well, to make a card that we can give to our families, we can post to our friends, we can give to our neighbors, and then you can write whatever message you want inside. So I'm going to do it on paper today, but you can use colored card, anything that you have at home. You could decorate it even more than this. You can use lots of different colors. You can do whatever you like. So what we're going to do is work on some of the flourishing, and I'm going to use normal paper for that and a pencil. So have a pencil and a rubber as well if you have one, and we'll just work on doing some of the shapes, some of the warm-ups before we move on to actually doing the card. So I've got my pencil ready, and we'll start off with some of the basic calligraphy warm-ups for flourishing. So for the letters, when we were doing the letters, we had the strokes that we would use for our letter writing, but what we'll do for flourishing warm-ups is the shapes that we're going to need to do some of our flourishes, and one of the main shapes is an oval. So we will do an oval, and we'll do it in lots of different orientations, so in different directions. We're going to do a C shape, and we're going to do an S shape. Okay, so we'll start off with the oval. And what you want to try and remember is you want your lines to be really flowing, really loose. So your wrist shouldn't be really tight, but you want to try and do really loose shapes. And you can do them big or small, but we're going to try and do an oval. So I've done one going downwards. We'll do an oval going upwards in this direction. And we can do an oval going sideways. So what we're doing here is we're just practicing drawing the shapes in different directions, because we might use this kind of shape in a flourish at the beginning of a word, in the middle of a word, at the end of a word, and we want to feel comfortable doing it in all different positions. Okay? So after the oval shape, and you'll see in some of the flourishes we'll join oval shapes together to get a bigger flourish. So you can do some of that as well if you want, and do this as many times as you want and repeat it and go over it, because all that does is build muscle memory, which is really, really important in calligraphy, to try and get your hands and muscles to remember the shapes that you want to make. So that's the oval, and then we'll do the C shape. It is exactly what it looks like, a bracket. So we're going to do a curved line, and we'll do it downwards like that, and we'll do it upwards. Okay, and if you try sideways as well, because sometimes what we use these kind of lines for is joining letters together, joining flourishes to letters, and having those lines in between really helps. Okay, after the C shape, we'll move on to the S shape, which is just a gentle curving line, like that. We're not doing a bump, we're just doing a curved line. Okay, so you want to think like waves in the ocean, really, really gentle curved lines. Okay, so these are our basic shapes, and you can practice them as many times as you like before you move on to doing the actual words. But what I'm going to move on to now is how we can use some of the flourishes in specific letters. So the letters that you have that end a word, you can do flourishes that go upwards or downwards. So I'll show you, for example, with A. If the letter A is at the end of your word, then your flick can go up and loop around, or it can go down and loop downwards. Yeah, you can do the same with M. Or N, very similar. Yeah, So these are for the ends of words, and then we'll move on to descending letters. So that's letters that go downwards, like G, or like Y, or J. And you can make the flourishes as extravagant or as simple as you like. I've made this J quite wide, so you'll see there's lots of space here. But what you might want to do, and this could change from word to word, is make it more narrow and longer, or you can make it longer downwards. It's completely up to you how you decide to decorate your letters. I'll show you with the letter Y, for example. When you have it at the end of a word, like happy, what you can do is stretch it to cover the bottom of the word like an underline. So I'll write the rest of happy in plain letters, H-A-P-P, and then with the Y, I'm going to stretch it and bring a flourish up. Okay, so when you do calligraphy with the rest of the letters, this might be a nice way for you to finish the word. It's up to you. You might like some of these or dislike the others. You don't have to use all of them. They're just ideas. And you can also do flourishes like this at the ascending letters, so letters that go up, like H and D. So I'll show you H in the middle of a word, like light. So you have your G, and then with the H, I'm going to curve in from the left, bring it up, join it to that gap, and I have a nice little flourish in the middle of my word there. You can do the exact same thing with D. So if I have a word that has a D in the middle, like made, so I've got M-A, the body of the D, and then I'm going to bring the flourish in from the side. I'm going to loop down and join in with the rest of the word. Okay? So you can do it in individual letters, in specific locations in a word, and then what you can also do is do it as an addition at the end of what you've written. So if I was to write thank you, what I could do is I could decide to add flourishes on my H here, bring my N lower down, flourish the Y, flourish the U, or I could decide I want to keep this really simple and I just want to do a flourish at the end. So you can add flourishes at the end, which again you'll see are a combination of the lines and ovals, and you can do just a simple one, you can do two. It's up to you whether you bring that back up to join in with the words or keep it completely separate. But this one and these two are actually, both of them are my two favorites to use at the bottom of a word. So you can do that when you write thank you cards, when you do your Eid Mubarak cards, when you do your Ramadan Kareem cards as well, if you want. You can just add flourishes at the bottom. And one of the nice ways that you can practice these kind of shapes in addition to these is to do the infinity sign. So that's when you start on one side and loop across. And what I want you to do when you're doing this is just get lighter and lighter on the paper. So your hand is getting looser, you're not grabbing your pencil too hard, and you're just practicing the shape. And you'll find then when you move to do it again, your lines are much smoother and your curves are much rounder. Okay, so that's a really, really nice practice to do as well, and it lends itself nicely to these kind of flourishes that go at the bottom or at the end of a word. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to move on to using pens, and we'll work on the specific words that we're going to use for our card. So that's Ramadan Kareem. Some of you may spell Ramadan with the H, some of you may spell it without. That doesn't really matter, it's up to you how you want to spell it. But what we'll do is look at some of the flourishes that we can do and use when we're writing these words on our cards. So I'm going to use the back of the paper and I'm going to pick up the Crayola and I'm just going to write the word out. I'm using pen for this and I'm going to use the pencil again when I decide how I want to add flourishes or if I want to change them. So we'll do thick, thin, thick. And I'm just writing out the word in normal calligraphy like we've done so far. Okay, and Kareem, or you might write Mubarak when you do yours. Now you might want to stop it at that, do a flourish on the bottom and be done with it, and that's absolutely fine if that's what you want to do. But if you want to think about some of the other flourishes that you can do, we'll start looking at it now with our pencil. So we have some of the shapes here to remind us: oval, C and S. So what I think I might do here is maybe add some ovals to the beginning of the R, maybe curve this up. I might, with this R, bring it to the bottom and have it sort of underline the word Ramadan. I'm not going to add anything to the bottom of the M because I'm going to add a line going across the bottom here. So what I will do is I'm going to add this loop to the D and I'll leave the H how it is, and I think for the N at the end I'll add a flourish. So I've got a flourish on my capital R that's going to go like that, a line that's going to bring my D, and I think a flourish where my N is. I think I'm happy with that. And let's have a look with the Kareem. I think I might do a round flourish for this, or maybe I'll just do one line. Yeah, maybe I'll just do one line and loop up. And with this I think I'll leave the K how it is, but with the R I'll loop maybe across. Yeah, let's try that. I'll loop the R across this way. We'll leave the two E's and then I'll finish the M the same way I did the N. So we'll just loop it like that. What I'm trying to do when I'm thinking about these shapes is make sure I'm keeping it balanced. So this is looping this way. So if I do loop this, it's going to go that way. I might then decide to leave it. We'll see how it goes. And this. Okay, so now that I have this, I'm going to get another piece of paper. And this is going to stay here to remind me what I'm planning. And I'm going to give it a go. So I said I'm going to do a loop for the capital R. So let's try that. Okay, the rest of the R was the same, but I'm going to bring it across like that. Okay, I can do the A, A. Now for the D, I had the loop that comes in from the top. So we're gonna bring the loop in from the top. The HA was the same. And for the N, I was gonna flourish the bottom of it. Okay, so we have Ramadan. And for Kareem, I was gonna flourish. Now, I think I decided to do just one line, so let's try that. Loop up. This line I decided to keep the same. And I'm gonna stop. A and the R was going down. So I'll do A and the R was going down and loop. The E's I'd kept the same. And the M, I had decided to do the same flourish as I'd done for the N. So let's try that. There we go. Quite happy with that. So you can see how I've gone with just writing in the flourishes with pencil and then trying it with pen. Now I can always go over this again and decide, actually, I don't want to do this with the N. I want to bring it wider. I don't like that for the D, actually. I think I might just leave it. So there's lots of things that you can add or change. You can decide to add a few patterns to the middle. You can do whatever you like. But what I suggest is do your main writing in pen and then make any changes in pencil until you get to what you think you really, really like. And then what we do is, obviously I've written this on an A4 piece of paper, but I want to make it into a card. So I'm going to fold another piece of A4 paper in half, and we're going to do it again. And I'm going to start with pencil this time, just to draw out the shape. A bit like this, where I have the boundaries or the border of what I want to write, and then I can decide how I want to fit my letters in. So we will fold the paper in half. And I'm doing all of this with marker because that's what most people have at home. But if you wanted to use your dip pen, you would need to use card, because on printer paper the ink would just bleed through. And if you want to use your Pentel markers, if you have them, you're more than welcome to use those, on normal paper as well. So now I've folded my paper into half. I have space inside to write my lovely, lovely message. So what I'm going to do now is, with pencil, just decide where the border of my words are going to be. So I think I'm going to try and make it quite big. I'm not very good at drawing, so I'm not going to add any drawings, but if you were going to add any drawings, you might want to make space for those as well. And I think I'm going to make it about here and about here. And remember, you can rub out your pencil after. We can draw over these lines again with pen if we decide we want to keep them or add anything to them. Now, I like how I've written these words, so I think I'm going to go with the same capital letters, and I'm going to draw those out in pencil so I know where they're going to be on my paper. So I have my R, and I'm going to have my K, and that's going to be around about where my words are going to be on my paper. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my pen and I'm going to give it a go. And remember, even though we're working on flourishing and fancy words, you still have to remember, when you do downward lines, they're thick. When you do upward lines, they're thin. And then we're going to do the rest of the word. Always have the spelling of the word next to you, because when you're doing calligraphy, it's hard to remember the spellings of the words because you're trying to remember whether you're doing thin or thick lines. So remember, for the D, I'm going to do the loop coming up from the top. And for the N, I'm going to do the flourish. Okay, Ramadan. And then Kareem, I like exactly how I've done it, so I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go thick down and thin up. And we're going to do A. And with the R, I'm going to go down and loop. And for the M, I'm going to do a flourish again. So Ramadan, Kareem. And I think what I'm going to do with the borders is I'll keep them this time. So I'm going to draw over them with my pen. And I'm just going to add some leaves. You can add flowers. You can draw anything you want to. I'm going to do the same for the top. So see how I've done the line in thick and I'm doing the leaves in thin. That's just something I've chosen to do. If you want to do it differently, you can. Okay, so this is my calligraphy themed Ramadan Kareem card. What I'm going to do is I'm going to wait for some of these spots to dry and I'm going to rub off the pencil from underneath so you can't see it. And then all that's left to do is write whatever message you want to write inside to whoever you'd like to send it to. And if you'd like to, on the back you can write that you made it at home, that it's handmade, or you can just mail it off. So I hope you've enjoyed some of the things that we've done over these last 4 weeks, and I hope that you'll keep practicing. And anything that you do make, please show me by tagging me in it or sending it to me on Instagram so that I can have a look. Ramadan Kareem, everyone. Thank you for joining me for these last 4 weeks of quarantine calligraphy. As always, keep practicing, stay home and stay safe. Kadafiz.